Every job has rules, but what if I told you there's a huge hidden system that writes those rules for pretty much everyone? In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the architecture that quietly shapes our entire working lives.
I mean, have you ever really thought about it? Who actually decides the rules for your job? I'm not talking about your manager or even the CEO. I'm talking about the fundamental stuff. Your basic rights, your safety, whether you're paid fair.
Well, the truth is, it's way more than just your boss. There's a whole invisible system humming along behind the scenes, and it sets the stage for basically everything that happens in the world of work.
So let's dive in. We're going to explore these unseen rules and really get to know the hidden framework that governs your job from day one.
Okay, so this complex web of rules and organizations, it actually has a name, a labor administration system. I know, it sounds a little dry, a little bureaucratic, but trust me, what this system does is absolutely fascinating, and it's incredibly important for every single one of us who works.
And look, this isn't just some vague concept. It's such a crucial idea that it's actually written down in an international agreement from the International Labor Organization, or the ILO. It's called Convention 150, and it's basically the official blueprint for countries all over the world.
So what does that actually mean? Well, think of it as the entire collection of public bodies. We're talking ministries of labor, safety inspectors, employment agencies, all working together. Their job is to create, carry out, and review a country's labor policy. The key word here isn't any single part. It's how they all function together as a coordinated system.
But why? Why do we even need all this? Well, this quote from 1944 really gets to the heart of it. Labor is not a commodity. It's a simple but powerful idea. A person's work isn't just another product you can buy and sell. It involves a human being who deserves dignity, safety, and fairness. And that right there is the whole reason these systems exist.
All right, so we know why it exists. But how does it actually get things done? The best way to think about it is to look at its four main pillars. These are the core functions, kind of like the engine room for the whole world of work.
First up, you've got labor standards. This is the absolute bedrock, the rules for things like minimum wage and safe working conditions. Then, you need good labor relations, which is all about making sure employers and workers can cooperate and, sort out disagreements. The third pillar is employment, actively helping people find jobs through training and placement services. And finally, tying it all together is research. Because let's face it, to make good rules, you have to know what's actually happening out there in the real world.
Now, this is super important. These four pillars can't just exist in their own separate worlds. They can't be in silos. The real magic happens when they're coordinated. Success happens when all these different parts are actually talking to each other and working together.
And to see what that coordination looks like in the real world, let's take a look at a fantastic example from the state of Bihar in India. They used this exact systems approach to take on the massive problem of child labor. So instead of the labor ministry trying to do it all alone, they brought everyone to the same table. The rural development folks helped reach families in remote areas. The health department stepped in to provide medical care. And the Education Council made sure that once children were rescued, they actually got back into school. And by working together like this, the result was stunning. A five-fold increase in the number of kids they rescued. Now that is the power of a real, coordinated system.
But of course, the world of work never stays the same, does it? It's always changing. And a good labor administration system has to be able to change and adapt right along with it.
And boy, the challenges today are pretty huge. You've got the massive informal economy, the complex issues around migrant workers, new sneaky types of disguised employment, and these massive sprawling global supply chains. And then, of course, there's the explosive rise of platform work. All the gig economy apps.
Just how explosive has that growth been? Well, let me just throw a number at you. 5 times.
That's right. The number of digital labor platforms on the planet multiplied by 5 in just a single decade. That kind of insane speed means the old rules are suddenly out of date, and there's a desperate need to catch up and protect this whole new generation of workers.
So how in the world do you regulate something that's moving that fast? Well, one really interesting idea comes from the Lazio region in Italy. They saw that the old laws for traditional jobs just didn't fit,
So they created new ones, specifically for digital workers. They guaranteed rights like collective bargaining. They even built a digital portal to register the platforms and the workers, which brought a ton of transparency to an industry that really didn't have any. It's a perfect example of a system evolving in real time.
Okay, so let's bring it all home. We've talked about how this system works, how it adapts, but why does this big invisible thing actually matter to you and me?
Here's why. Because at the end of the day, a well-run, coordinated, and adaptable labor administration system, it isn't just a bunch of boring paperwork. It's a fundamental cornerstone of a fair society and a stable economy. It's the essential machinery that makes sure economic growth doesn't come at the expense of human dignity.
And that really leaves us with one big question for the future. As things like AI, remote work, and technologies we can't even imagine yet continue to transform our jobs, what are the new rules we're going to need to invent to make sure that work stays fair, safe, and decent for every single person?